All right, 10:03. I'll start it right now. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us this morning. I hope you all have your coffees ready. I hope you're all warm. I'm Logan Smith. This is Ari Mata. We are with the United Way of Greater Waterbury here with Stephanie Reed of Wealth Generation Legacy.
Morning.
We're give the coffee chat on just personal finance, personal financial literacy. I will let Steph obviously do most of the talking on that subject, but just to tee her up a little bit, they are a nonprofit organization and focus on providing literacy education as well as life skill education to build community wealth for generations to come. So again, thank you all for hopping on today. I'll tee it over to Steph. And if anyone has any questions at the end, we'll open it for a little bit of Q&A. But thanks again for joining us.
Good morning. Thank you for the intro. So, my name is Stephanie Reed, and I'm one of the facilitators for Wealth Gen in basically teaching our financial literacy program throughout. So bear with me because I hope my slides play properly as I like technology, but sometimes it doesn't work with me. So at Wealth Generation Legacy, we have a motto that says that in a field of grass, be a tree. And I totally run with that motto because basically it's saying that just because the world around you is doing one thing, be that one person that stand out. Especially when we're talking about financially, if we want to win with money, we have to kind of not always go with the grain. We have to try to go against the grain to do what's different. So instead of using going into debt like everyone else, just like be the one person that's going to stick out, actually save and do what you're supposed to do. So today we're basically going to be talking about budgeting, savings, and trying to work out or stay out of debt. And I hope all of this information will be useful, and I hope that it will of course, any questions you have, please feel free to ask. I just hope that it will be relatable to you. All right. Please let me know if you guys have a problem seeing anything. So like I said, we're going to be talking about budgeting, attacking debt, and savings. So first thing, creating a budget, right? We're going to be talking about the 50-30 rule of budgeting. And I'm sure that somewhere along the line, you have heard of this rule, right? You have heard something similar or anything of the sort. So we're going to break it down a little. 50%. So that 50 part of the 50-30-20. So 50% is going to go to your essential needs. And I know it sounds crazy because now it feels like 50% is just going towards one of the essential needs, right? Which is housing. 30% is going to go towards your giving and spending, and 15% to retirement, and then 5% to your short-term savings. So that's kind of the breakdown of the 50-30 and the 20. So 50% to essential needs. That includes your housing. So whether it is that you have a mortgage or you are renting, that's what that takes up. Food, whether you're a person that likes to eat out or you're cooking at home, your grocery bills. Clothing, we live in New England, right? Connecticut is all seasons. And in dealing with all seasons, there are all different type of clothing we need from all seasons, right? And quite frankly, we have to have clothes because we cannot walk around without them. It's illegal. And transportation. And transportation, every time I talk about transportation, that's any modes of transportation. So whether it is that you have a vehicle and you have to gas up, whether it is that you use public transportation, trains, buses, whatever, whether it is that you are somebody that's always using Uber or Lyft to your advantage, all of these things need to be in your budget because you should have a general idea of if I do need to catch a Lyft, how much is that, where I'm going generally, right? If it's something that you're using along the way. So that's the 50% part of your budget. And so think about that. That's half of your income and that's half of your net, right? Now there is the 30% part, and this is where you give and spend. This is where you give yourself the freedom to budget in those small joys that you might want to enjoy, but also where you take the opportunity to give back to anything or tithe if you are, faith-based. So you're giving 10% to your church, you're given to an organization that you find passion in, that you know is doing the right thing. And this is where you give yourself blow cash. Like I said, you give yourself permission for those small joys in your budget, because your budget should never feel like it's stifling or that it's restrictive. And keep in mind that when it comes to giving, these are also on the back end of it. This is also where you have additional write-offs. And so you are given, and you're given to, great causes, or you're given to your church, but you are also, writing that off at the end of the year. And that means that now you are claiming less income, right? So it is beneficial twofolds. And this is where you give space for date nights. Schedule those in, guys. Restaurants and so forth. 15% is going to go towards your retirement. Right now, the majority of companies across the United States are giving employees the chance to be in charge of their own retirement. And I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but you are in charge of your own retirement. You are in charge of putting towards that retirement. They are not doing pensions anymore, right? This is something that people looked forward to. They always sought to find companies that were like, oh, if I stay with you for 25, 30 years, now I have a pension that I can look forward to at the end of all that. And that's not happening anymore, right? So within your retirement, you have traditional IRAs and Roth IRAs that you could subsidize outside of employment, through a Vanguard or Fidelity that you could fund privately. And then you have through employment 401ks, 403bs. There's also health saving plans. And a lot of people don't talk about this as much, but health saving plans is another great way to sneak additional retirement funds away, because you can save up for, you can invest inside of your health saving plans. And I don't know if a lot of people know that. Any questions, of course, ask after in regards to that. And now 5%. So this is where we finish breaking down that 50, 30, 20. So this is the remaining part of that 20%. So the remaining 5% should be going towards your short-term savings. So this is where you have your emergency fund. You are basically saving up for a future home if you want to, or even if you want to upgrade car or a vacation, because quite frankly, if you're using your credit card to pay for a vacation, you are not vacating, you're actually tripping, because when you come back, you now have to work twice as hard to pay off that card, not to mention all the nice, fun excursions you did on the vacation. And now you're spending additional money, and it's like, now I have to really go work hard to try to pay it off, right? So we should be saving to pay for those. Majority of Americans cannot cover an emergency ranging from $500 to $1,000. It is essential to start an emergency fund. So having your short-term savings do that is important. And an emergency fund is, of course, 3 to 6 months of your living expenses, but we should at least start $1,000 aside just for emergencies, right? This is my starting point. So that if something big, like, oh man, for some reason, all my tires just blew out, right? Instead of running to a card, you actually have the funds to get those tires fixed. So the idea with your budget is that every dollar should have a name. Does not mean that you are spending every dollar every month. where your account is at zero, it means that you're allocating all of those dollars to a category. And what I mean by that is, if you're making, $6,000 a month or whatever the number may be, all 6,000 of those dollars should be allocated to a category. So if you're in debt, that means that you should have an action plan to eliminate that. If you need to build up your emergency fund, then you need to have an action plan to put that in, right? So you're allocating a certain amount to all of these categories and also making sure that all of your essential needs are taken care of. So we need to understand that budgeting isn't restriction, it's awareness. And when I sit down with people and we talk, we go through and try to pull up a budget, a lot of them aren't really aware of what their money is actually doing, right? It's just like, oh, wow, I didn't know that I spent so much on restaurants every month, or wow, I didn't realize that I was just throwing my money away at subscriptions I'm not using or anything like that, right? It is awareness. It is you actually focusing on, okay, what is my bank account saying? What is it representing? It's not something that needs to feel like you're being held by a boa constrictor. That is not what your budget should do. It's you knowing where your money's going, what your priorities are, and what's draining your bank account quietly. That is all that your budget is doing. It is actually liberation. To know that stuff and be aware of what your money is doing is freedom in itself. So let's think about this. Sometimes it's hard, right? There are budgeting apps and tools out there to help you that you could have it right on your phone every time that you need to put something in that or fix a category. Find an app that's going to work for you and your lifestyle, but also use technology to your advantage, right? Auto transfer savings. You could use this to build your emergency fund. Right now, through employers, right? Your 401k, 403bs, you could auto invest into those. Do the same thing for personal IRAs outside of employment, retirement plans, right? Make it easy and thoughtless, because guess what? When you get your take-home pay, the government has already taken there. It's already auto out, right? Do the same thing and make it practical for you to save and to hit the goals that you want to do. So just put those action plans into play. Sorry. So one of the big things, we as adults need to learn how to distinguish our wants from our needs. Oftentimes we play ourselves, no other way around it, right? And we call wants needs when that's not what they are. And we need to learn how to distinguish that so that we are being diligent in what we need to do with our budget. And use a sinking fund for large purchases. And that goes for any big purchases that that's over a couple thousand, right? That you're gonna have to say, like, if I don't have the cash right now, I'm probably going to have to put it on a card to do. Try the sinking fund approach. And basically what that is just, all right, if I know that I want to go on a trip and that trip is going to cost between flights, hotels, excursions or whatever, say $3,500. Make a plan to put that money aside every month until it's time for you to actually book the trip. This requires planning. This requires intentionality, where you are not just being compulsive, right? This requires you to actually put some plans and thought into process. And this is not something that you have to do. You could say, you know what? I know I want to go on a vacation, so I know my vacations usually cost about this much. Let me just start planning, just in case somebody say, hey, you want to do this, you want to do it, you're already being intentional about it. And so if the opportunity does arrive, you already have that money set aside, where you are okay with, this is my vacation money, I can spend it. Let's just work within the budget, guys, if we're going to go on this trip, right? So the next thing we're going to discuss today is savings. So when it comes to savings, we're going to talk about like things that we should be putting money aside for, right? We know that rainy days come and things happen. So these things, when it comes to savings, we know that we're going to need or want these things. So we should be aware of it to where we are bankrolling them small bits of a time, right? So emergencies, purchases, cars, vacation, house, college, retirement, like these are things that we should be saving up for. And like I said, it takes intentionality because it requires, even if it's the smallest amount, I'm going to not buy coffee today and I'm going to put that $5 aside into savings account. It's going to slowly build. Here's some scary stats. 36% of US adults say that they have more credit card debt than emergency savings. And to be quite honest, 36% seems like low because the amount of credit card debt the country is facing, it might be higher, right? So according to New York Life, more than half of adults don't have a retirement savings strategy in place. Now, like I said, most companies now are putting that in the employee's hand to where you have to be diligent in saving for your retirement. And if you don't have a plan in place, and if they're not forcing you, right, automatically taking it out of your check to put aside in a 401k or 403b, then it's like at the end of it, you're just like, at the end of your work period, you're just like, wait a second, what am I supposed to do now? Like, now you don't have the choice of, do I want to retire? Now it's kind of like, oh, I don't have a choice. I have to keep working, right? And what retirement saving does is give you the chance to say, you know what, I'm not someone that really likes to stay around and not keep my hands busy, right? Or, you know what, I'm done with this position. I've enjoyed it for how many years I've been doing it. Now I would like to go off and try something else and venture into something new. This is what retirement helps you do. So great practices for saving. Automate your savings. I can't say that enough. It's a great way to increase your savings small bit at a time where you're not even thinking about it, because guess what? Your subscriptions get automated, right? The taxes before you get your money gets automated out, right? And sometimes if we've set it up properly, our retirement is getting automated. Do the same thing for your savings. Put yourself first, pay yourself first. It is an old principle, but it still holds true. It takes the extra work out of saving and prevents the temptation for spending once it hits your checking account. Because sometimes when the money hits your checking account, it's just like, oh, well, rent's paid, groceries are bought, gas tank's full up, rest is mine. Woo! And it's just like, no, we have to adult, we have to put plans into practice. So split up your direct deposits. Don't have all of your money being directed to one bank account. It's really simple. And it's something my husband and I started doing. We have a high yield savings account where we have money, and it's not a lot, guys, that we take out a small portion of our income and just put it to our high yield savings account, where now that money is earning a huge interest compared to letting it sit in our regular savings account, right? And any other like organizations or anything that you need to like set things aside for, you're not limited to just one. You could split up your direct deposit how you want. It's your money, right? So you could do it yourself by bank transfers now. Set up an emergency fund. I can't stress that enough when it comes to savings, because rainy days come. Rainy days comes, and sometimes we will see the forecast that, oh yeah, we know it's going to rain today. And sometimes it is sunny and all of a sudden the rain just pours down, right? Same thing financially. Sometimes we can foresee that, okay, I know in the next couple months I'm going to need new tires because I see the wear and tear on them. Or sometimes it's just like, what did I run over? And now I have 3 flat tires and there's no repairing them, you know? It's the same thing. So have an emergency fund. This is supposed to be separate from your ordinary savings account. You should be putting your emergency fund in an account that is not easily accessible because it's for emergencies. So if you have easy access to it, you might be tempted to go into it for non-emergency needs. So easy enough to get to, but out of your way, right? So if you're using another bank, another brick and mortar bank, then that means that instead of that bank being in your normal everyday commute or surroundings, make it across town. Now you literally have to go across town. You don't have, a card, so you have to go to the bank and make an effort to get that money out, right? Excuse me. Your goal for this is 3 to 6 months of living expenses. And if it's not possible yet, and I know that everything has gone up and prices, everything is skyrocketing and your budget is just like all over the place now. Start with at least $1,000 and build from there. You have no idea how much just having $1,000 in the bank of putting aside just as a title of emergencies can give you peace of mind in a season where it might feel crazy, right? Now, of course, we want to increase it, but just that little piece gives you that security. And it's going to help you with unexpected circumstances. To get to the 3 to 6 months of living expenses, your budget is going to tell you. Your budget is going to inform you what that looks like. So this is why we start off with doing our budget. Our budget tells me that, okay, it takes $3,500 a month for me to live off of comfortably, where all my bills are paid, and I still have money to go out and go to restaurants or entertainment and all that stuff. That means that I now need to save up $3,500 for the next, put in the bank between 3 to 6 months in case life happens, where we just had a government shutdown and all the federal workers were not getting paid for a while, right? These are why we put money aside. So we're going to break down different savings. There's short-term, midterm, and long-term savings. Short-term savings, these are goals that you want to accomplish in 2 years or less. So these are going to include like car down payment, vacation, apartment rental deposit, home improvements. If you own a home, things that you want to get accomplished. If you want that new bathroom, that basement refinish, these are things, all right, I know these are my goals. This is what I want to save up for. You want this money to be fairly accessible, or you save it. Midterm goals, this is goals that you want to accomplish for your savings purposes in the 2 to 5 years, right? So these are going to include things like wedding, down payment for a house, pursuing higher education, funding kids' college funds, starting a business, or just paying off any debt that you might have, right? These are midterm saving goals ideas. And then they're the long-term savings goal. These are things that are going to take years to accomplish, and that's fine because this is typically things like retirement, paying off the house, the entire mortgage, right? And that once in a lifetime trip that costs like $15,000 because you're trying to stay in Ritz-Carlton all over the world and tour everything and do all the things, right? Those things are going to cost more and it's going to take longer for you to save up for. Those are your long-term saving goals. Where do we place these goals? Like what accounts are best for them? I spoke about this earlier, but high yield savings account, check those out, guys. My husband and I use SoFi. They've been really good. They offer great interest rates, and they'll give you interest on your checking and savings. It's actually, good. When it comes to high yield savings account, any of them, there's a minimum balance you have to keep in the account for you to get the high interest rate, right? But it's a great place for you to put long, short, or midterm saving goals. Money market accounts, these are good for short and midterm goals. Check out to see, credit unions will offer them quite a bit. Now they will give you a better rate than your standard savings account. You just have to make sure that you are within the realms, because not that you want to be pulling money out of your savings account on a basis, but most money markets limit to 3 to 6 transactions per month. CD accounts, we don't talk about CD accounts as much anymore. They used to be really big, probably like early 90s. They are still around. They're still available. They do still give decent rates. You are just locked in with the CD accounts anywhere from 3 months to 6 years, depending on what you choose. You do not want to leave those accounts early, because you're stuck with early penalty fees, and you're just giving money away that you need for yourself. And of course, long-term goals, 403b, 401ks and 403bs, IRAs, those are going to be long-term goals. So those are going to be through your investment portfolios, through work and whatever company it is that work uses to fund your investments through. Try to separate your savings account based on your goals. This is just something simple. If it helps, if you are a visual learner, if it's like, I need to visually see, if I'm saving for this one thing, I have it in this account over here, that money is specifically for this. And even sometimes depending on your bank was able to open up, your standard bank able to open up multiple savings account. You could title them vacation, emergency, whatever it might be, new roof. Now you're splitting the money into these separate savings category, and you're able to track it better. And you could do it with different banks. You are not married to one bank. You're free to shop around. You have to do what's going to be best for you. This is why it's personal finance, because it's personal to you and what you need to accomplish, right? So it's okay to have multiple to get a clearer picture. When it comes to savings, you can make it fun, create a challenge, get a buddy involved, right? There is a 52-week challenge saving plans that you could be like, hey, let's try to accomplish this year. Like, coming up 2026, let's make this our goal, because we both need to get our savings game up. So let's do this. And what that is 52-week challenge. Make each week a saving goal. So we're starting off week 1 in January. That means we're saving $1. Week 2, $2, 3, and you're just building up to all 52 weeks, right? And you make this a challenge, because what if like week 36 comes and you're like, bro, I just didn't do it this week, and you're like, haha, well, I did, like, you, not only that, but if you get someone involved with it, you're giving yourself an accountability partner, right? And when we have somebody that's going to hold us accountable, we're more likely to stick to that goal and that plan of action, right? Because it's like, oh, I thought we had something going here, I thought we had a goal or plan in place to utilize this. All right, so and I'm sorry if I'm speeding through this a little. I want to make sure that we get through the information so we have questions after. So staying out and paying off debt. So just to start off with some stats, because let's think about some stuff, right? There are payday loans, right? These things are, people run to them because they help in like this time of need, because one, we haven't done the budget and we're not doing savings plan, right? So payday loan is a relatively small amount of money lent at a very high rate of interest to it, on the agreement that it'll be repaid when the borrower receives their next paycheck. The problem is that when we get into the cycle of using payday loans, and we haven't budgeted properly, it's unlikely that your next paycheck, you're going to have all the funds needed to pay back the loan, plus the astronomical interest rate that is put on it, plus take care of your regular bills. So it becomes a perpetual cycle that leads to a huge market, right? 1 in 20 households have taken out this type of loan. And it is a billion-dollar industry. $9 billion industry. So we want to try to stay away from that, and our budgeting and our planning for savings is going to help us to do that. Why are these so popular? These loans feed off the fact that most Americans don't have enough to cover an emergency of $400 or greater. This is why I can't stress enough that your budget is not something that is supposed to be restrictive. It's something to bring awareness to see what really happens. When I say have that starter emergency fund, it's because we don't want to fall into this category, right? There are more payday loan establishments than both McDonald's and Starbucks combined. And we know that there are a lot of McDonald's and Starbucks. So that's scary, right? Because this is what is being pursued instead of budgeted. Overdraft. We've probably all fallen into this little sinkhole at one point in our lives or another, right? So overdraft occur when you spend money that you don't have in your account. The average overdraft fee is about $35. And according to the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, for the full year of 2023, U.S. banks reported about 5.83 billion, not million with a B, in overdrafts and non-sufficient fund fees collected from customers. So due to poor money management and budgeting, we are literally giving away billions of dollars, right, from overdraft fees. And this can also become a cycle, because if you don't pay the fee, they're just gonna keep like hitting you with it, So credit cards, and this is a big thing. About 201 million Americans are using credit cards. Average credit cards per household is about 2.3, and number of Americans who carry credit card debt is 125 million. Total credit card debt in the U.S. is $527 billion. And the average credit card debt per person is $4,205. We don't want to be a part of this statistic. The average credit card debt per household is $8,158. This is a lot. It's a lot of burden to carry. I don't know if you've ever walked through the airport with a lot of bags. It's hard, right? Especially if you half of them aren't on wheels, right? This is basically us walking through life with a whole lot of bags. It's a lot to carry. It's burdensome, and it doesn't give us a peaceful night's rest. So now we go into the next thing, car loans, right? Roughly 9% of U.S. consumer debts are made up of auto loans, second only to mortgages, right? Average loan balance per borrower is $24,000 to $24,600. The U.S. auto debt is approximately $1.5 to $1.6 trillion. Like, that's like the million, the billion, and then the trillion. That's a lot, right? And then we are on average paying auto loans of $750 to $760. So when we talk about 50% of our budget being essential needs, and that transportation portion of it, not only is it about $750, that's not even including the tax and the maintenance of all of that, so it is really stripping our budget badly if we're not paying enough attention. And of course, there's the student loan. It's $1.8 trillion, and 44.2 million Americans have student loan debt. That's a lot. And to be quite honest, most people are just living with it like a pet. Like, well, it's here. It's not going anywhere. Might as well just get used to it, right? And just paying the minimum. Average student loan balance is between $39,000 to $43,000 per borrower, and the delinquency rate is up 11.2%. So that means that people, like I said, they're just like, it's here, it's not going anywhere. Why am I going to bother, right? So they're 90-day past due. So it says that it'll take 21 years to pay off your student loan debt. That's a long time to have it around. That's basically almost all of your work and career, if you think about that. And if we are not diligent with our budgeting and our finances, then that means that all the other things that we want aren't going to get accomplished because we have this other thing hanging over. And now people tend to go into the credit card debt because they're like, well, I want to do all those other things, right? Forget about this. And so now the debt ratio just keeps building. So how do we tackle our mess? We could turn debt into a game. Do the debt snowball challenge, found money rule, or temporary lifestyle exchange. Side hustle that doesn't burn you out. So the debt snowball, basically, this is where you take your minimum balance. You start off with your minimum amount and you work all your way up. We are humans. We like to find that there's psychology in all of this, right? Like if we don't have some type of like gratification, if it's taken too long, we tend to want to give up and quit, right? So you have to do the minimum balances first and work your way up to the larger one, because if you try to tackle the larger one and you don't foresee the dent being made, you're going to want to be like, forget it. It can't work. It's not happening anyway, right? So the idea is to pay off as much as you can, as quickly as you can with the first card. Then you're going to roll that first payment. Then you're going to roll over that first minimum payment to the second card and add it to it. And now instead of just the $75 from at card 2, you have $125. And you're going to do the same thing. You're going to pay off card 2 as quickly as you can. And you're going to then bring that payment down to card 3. So instead of having just $100 towards card 3, now we have $225. And we're going to do the same thing again. We're rolling down our minimum payment. So when you pay something off, you're not thinking, oh, I've just freed up money that I could spend. No, you are bringing it down the line to say, hey, now I have other things I need to take care of. Let me roll it into this. This is why it's a snowball, right? Because as the snowball goes, it builds and builds and builds, and you could tackle more with it. So we get to our last huge, which is the student loan. Instead of just paying the $500, we're paying $1,204 towards that debt. And we pay that off as much as we can, add in as much as we can until we are debt free. And that's the goal, is to utilize these snowball to attack the smallest amount first and work our way down. And the reason why is because it's all psychological. We want to see that it's working. We feel motivated and to keep going because, hey, I did it with card 1. That means now I can do it with card 2 and keep going through whatever debt it is that I have. And now there's a found money rule. Any unexpected money goes 100% towards debt if you have debt. So that means tax refunds, overtime that you're clocking in. Any gifts, oh, hey, happy birthday, here you go. Somebody gives you $50, $100, whatever it is, goes towards your debt. Cashback rewards. If you're going to be utilizing these cards, make them to your benefit. Any side hustle income, put it towards your debt, because the goal is for you to be, debt free, where everything else isn't pulling at your money. And since we're budgeting for it, we won't miss it. Since we're not budgeting for it, I apologize. We're not budgeting for these monies, we won't miss it. So putting it towards your debt is going to work. Temporary lifestyle exchange. Now, this one takes some discipline. So you're going to give yourself 30 to 90 days. So it's not going to be like a forever thing, right? And it may be that you need to give yourself longer depending on where you are. So no spending for a month, only on your essential needs, right? You're only taking care of what you need to actually what do I need to eat on? Okay, I'm not going out, I'm cooking every meal. Cancel all subscriptions for 60 days. Or things that you're not even using. You signed up for that one Disney Plus subscription a year ago and you used it one time. Get rid of it. cash only weeks. So basically, if you don't have the cash, you can't participate in going out. And you have to understand, the people around you need to understand that you're doing these temporary things for long-term goals and long-term wins. All savings go straight towards your debt. So anywhere you pull money from this, go straight towards eliminating that debt. Side hustle that doesn't burn you out. You don't want to feel like I'm doing another big job or thing, right? So anything that you know that you're good at that you could help out anywhere else. So weekend gigs, sell unused items. Marketplace is a great place. Pet sitting or dog walking, freelance. Like if you're good at something and you could freelance it out, do it. Even if it's just $200 to $400 a month, it's going to make a huge difference in eliminating that debt and getting you closer to your goal. So think about these things. Learn to distinguish your wants from your needs. Avoid comparing your financial progress. Everyone isn't in your same boat. It's personal finance for a reason. You can't look at other people's successes, wins, struggles, whatever it is. You don't know what's backing them. You don't know what's motivating them, and you don't know really what's going on with them, right? You got to walk your own path and build good habits. We're not looking for perfection. We're looking for good habits. It takes time for us to build muscles. So small actions done for a year beats big actions done at once. And plan for big purchases. Don't guess about them. And that's it. I hope that was helpful.
Thank you very much, Steph. Honestly, just speaking for myself, I thought that was really helpful. I had never actually heard of the 50, 30, 20 thing before, ever.
Yeah.
But that was cool. I wrote that down. I'm actually going to take a lot of these things and like you say, think on them. And my goal is to look forward to this next year and try to take some actions for myself. So I'm definitely going to. I had one real question for you, and it was relating to like when you said like have technology work with you. There's two. I think I've mentioned one to you before. Acorns is one, and then the other one is like that Rocket Money thing. Which is the total thing, like for me, like the Rocket Money is supposed to help you get rid of subscriptions, but it itself is a subscription. So I was just wondering if you were familiar with those two apps specifically, and if you could just like, are they good? Are they bad? Do they help?
So I'm familiar with them, but I've never used them before. It's so funny because I was teaching a class Monday night, and one of the guys, we were talking about Acorn also, and he's like, I have to link my bank account to that, and I'm not comfortable with that. Yes, so with Acorn, it's something that basically, if you go and use your debit card because it's linked to your bank account, same thing if you go to the supermarket, and now I don't know if sometimes you purchase and do you want to round up to donate this thing to that? It works in the same way. It is not something that I have used or subscribed to personally, neither have I done the Rocket, because though both of those apps make it easy for you to do, to help with the savings account, to help with saving money or cutting things down. You could also, if you want to be diligent enough, just sit down. I know we don't do this anymore, but go through the bank statements, 3 months worth of it, and see where everything is coming out of. And I've always done taken that approach, so I'm just used to that. But some people are very technology driven. As you can see, I have challenge over here with this one. So those things are beneficial. So I can't 100% speak on them because I haven't personally used them. Does that make sense? But I know that they are, beneficial to people who, want to set something up that it's like set it and forget it kind of thing.
Gotcha. Yeah, that makes sense. Thank you. I'm just going to check the chat really quick to see if there was one.
Let me see.
There's just a comment saying how great the presentation was.
Thank you.
So, personally, I really did enjoy that. I thought there was a lot of good information there, a lot of like shocking statistics as well. The whole presentation has been recorded, so if people wanted to revisit it, it will be up at some point in time after it's been edited, like clipping the end and the beginning. If there are no other questions, again, I really do thank you, Steph, for hopping on, and teaching us about this. This, for me personally, it did provide me with a lot of good information and things that I'm gonna try to utilize in the next year.
Yes, I hope so. You know, goal setting time is coming around. And we start off part of our classes when we do it. This is, setting goals for ourselves. And this is a great way to just like, really face yourself in the mirror and say, what are some actual goals that I need to actually, face, sit down, set, and stick to.
All right. Thank you, guys. I really appreciate you all hopping on. We'll be in touch with you all. Again, Steph, thank you so much.
Thank you.
If any questions or anything, you can reach out to Ari or myself, and we'll help you out. And we'll communicate with you, Steph, if that's needed as well. So once again, thank you, guys. I really appreciate it. Have a great rest of your Wednesday. Stay warm and stay safe.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.